tranquil conscience and an easy digestion, he slept well, by the profound interest of a story about a rat and a black cat, I think, which she was narrating, all in an undertone, of course, to her sister. When the day broke, it so happened that this history was not altogether finished, and that Scheherazade, in the nature of things, could not finish it just then, since it was high time for her to get up and be bowstrung, a thing very little more pleasant than hanging, only a trifle more genteel. The king's curiosity, however, prevailing, I am sorry to say, even over his sound religious principles, induced him for this once to postpone the fulfilment of his vow until next morning, for the purpose, and with the hope of hearing that night how it fared in the end with the black cat. A black cat, I think it was, and the rat. The night having arrived, however, the Lady Scheherazade not only put the finishing stroke to the black cat and the rat was blue, but before she well knew what she was about, found herself deep in the intricacies of a narration, having reference, if I am not altogether mistaken, to a pink horse with green wings that went in a violent manner by clockwork, and was wound up with an indigo key. With this history the king was even more profoundly interested than with the other, and as the day broke before its conclusion, notwithstanding all the queen's endeavours to get through with it in time for the bowstringing, there was again no resource but to postpone that ceremony as before for 24 hours. The next night there happened a similar incident with a similar result, and then the next, and then again the next, so that in the end the good monarch, having been unavoidably deprived of all opportunity to keep his vow during a period of no less than 1001 nights, either forgets it altogether by the expiration of this time, or gets himself absolved of it in the regular way, or, what is more probable, breaks it outright, as well as the head of his father confessor. At all events, Scheherazade, who being lineally descended from Eve, fell heir perhaps to the whole 7 baskets of talk, which the latter lady, we all know, picked up from under the trees in the Garden of Eden. Scheherazade, I say, finally triumphed, and the tariff upon beauty was repealed. Now this conclusion, which is that of the story as we have it upon record, is no doubt excessively proper and pleasant. But alas, like a great many pleasant things, it is more pleasant than true, and I am indebted altogether to the Is It or Not for the means of correcting the error. Le mieux, says a French proverb, est l'ennemi du bien. And in mentioning that Scheherazade had inherited the 7 baskets of talk, I should have added that she put them out at compound interest until they amounted to 77. My dear sister, said she on the 1002nd night, I quote the language of the Is It or Not at this point verbatim. My dear sister, said she, now that all this little difficulty about the bowstring has blown over, and this odious tax is so happily repealed, I feel that I have been guilty of great indiscretion in withholding from you and the king, who I am sorry to say snores, a thing no gentleman would do, the full conclusion of Sinbad the Sailor. This person went through numerous other and more interesting adventures than those which I related, but the truth is, I felt sleepy on the particular night of their narration, and was so seduced into cutting them short, a grievous piece of misconduct, for which I only trust that Allah will forgive me. But even yet it is not too late to remedy my great neglect, and as soon as I have given the king a pinch or two in order to wake him up so far that he may stop making that horrible noise, I will forthwith entertain you, and him if he pleases, with the sequel of this very remarkable story. Hereupon, the sister of Scheherazade, as I have it from the Is It or Not, expressed no very particular intensity of gratification, but the king, having been sufficiently pinched, at length ceased snoring, and finally said, and then, hoo, when the queen, understanding these words, which are no doubt Arabic, to signify that he was all attention, and would do his best not to snore any more, the queen, I say, having arranged these matters to her